Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, we are jumping right into a stack of sources today. Really interesting stuff. They detail one of the most spiritually anticipated and, frankly, visually stunning celebrations in the Vedic calendar. The sources you provided describe this marriage. Well, it's simple on the surface, right? A plant and a stone. But it's also deeply transcendentally complex. So our focus today is the Tulsi Shaligram Vivah. That's the marriage of Tulsi Devi. She is the personification of sacred basil, and Lord Shaligram, who is a specific manifestation of Lord Vishnu. We're definitely going to look at the customs, especially how they're celebrated in ISK temples. But our mission here is, I think, a bit deeper than just the ritual. We want to understand the sort of foundational spiritual paradox that makes this wedding necessary in the first place. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, and this really is a deep dive because this ceremony, it's almost like a high-speed crash course in devotional philosophy, what's called bhakti. It teaches us so much, not just about the relationship between, say, the individual soul and the Supreme Lord, but also about the really profound nature of sacrifice and love. It's quite a drama that plays out every year, and it reminds devotees that their spiritual journey isn't just theoretical, it's an intimate, loving pursuit.
Right, and to really get that relationship, we have to start with, well, some high drama. There's betrayal, even a curse involved. Goes way back to Tulsi Devi's past life. She was known then as the goddess Vrinda, and Vrinda was, by all accounts, just perfect, utterly devoted, pure,
Wavering devotion. Yeah.
the devoted wife of this demon king, Jalandhar. Now, here's the twist, the paradox. Her absolute purity, her chastity, made her husband basically invincible. Even the gods couldn't touch him. So her power was actually protecting this cosmic enemy.
A real stalemate.
Yeah, the forces of good couldn't defeat the demon until Vrinda's purity was somehow compromised.
Which creates this cosmic problem. And that's when Lord Vishnu, the preserver of the universe, had to step in.
Okay, hold on a second. So the Supreme Lord, who's supposed to be the standard bearer for righteousness, he resorts to deception to achieve this necessary end. How do the sources explain that moral gray area?
That is a really fundamental question, and it comes up a lot. The sources explain it as a kind of difficult necessity. Sometimes it's called Layla or divine play, but the idea is it's done for the ultimate benefit of the cosmos, right? To restore Dharma, the cosmic order. So Vishnu had to, let's say, temporarily bend the rules to save the universe from Jalandhar's tyranny. He disguised himself as Jalandhar. And through that trick, essentially, he broke Vrinda's chastity. And the very instant her purity was gone, the demon king became vulnerable. He could be defeated.
Wow. So the immediate fallout for Vrinda, must have been just utterly devastating. She sacrificed everything without even knowing it.
Oh, immense heartbreak. Absolutely. When she found out about the deception, interestingly, her anger wasn't directed at Jalandhar. Her sort of righteous wrath fell squarely on Lord Vishnu, and she cursed him. Demanded that he too suffer, become inanimate. She cursed him to become a stone.
And that stone is the Shaligram Shala.
Precisely. That's the origin. But what's fascinating here is, well, how the Lord handles the curse. He accepts it. And then he turns it into this continuous blessing, this ongoing relationship. Vishnu didn't react defensively. He responded with acceptance, compassion even. He then transformed Vrinda into the sacred Tulsi plant, the plant form of devotion itself. And here's a really crucial part, the promise. Vishnu declared that from that day on, he would only accept worship any offering if it included a Tulsi leaf. He essentially bound himself to her forever, in a way.
So the curse becomes a bond.
Exactly. And the annual Viva, this wedding, it's the eternal celebration and sanctification of that very bond, a promise born from a curse.
That really sets the stage perfectly for understanding who the bride and groom are, doesn't it? They carry so much metaphorical weight.
Let's look at the bride first, Tulsi Devi. As you said, she's the plant form of devotion, not just any basil, right? She's the essence of bhakti, pure, unadulterated, loving devotion. It signifies this personal, really emotional connection to the Supreme.
And that's key. Tulsi is seen as a pure devotee herself. So she represents the kind of perfected form of the individual soul, the jiva. The jiva being, well, us, each individual soul. That tiny spark of spirit, powerful in its capacity for love, but still dependent on the Lord. And the sources really emphasize this.
Yeah.
Every single part of the Tulsi plant, the leaves we use in worship, the wood for beads, even the roots is all considered sacred, essential for worship. She's indispensable.
Okay, so that's the bride. Now the groom, Lord Shaligram.
Yes, Lord Shaligram. He is, in a sense, the physical result of Vrinda's curse, but also a direct representation of Vishnu. The Shaligram Shila, it's this sacred, naturally black stone. It's found only in one place, the Gandaki River region in Nepal. Why only that river? Is there a reason for that specificity? And why a stone rather than, say, a carved statue, as a direct representation of God.
That's a great point. It ties into the concept of aniconic representation, meaning not representational in a human-like form. The stone doesn't need a sculptor to make it sacred. It's considered svayambhu, self-manifested. The idea is the stone itself is the deity. Which, if we connect this to the bigger picture, well, it shows the Lord can appear in any form, even seemingly humble ones, like a stone, just to accept the devotion of his followers.
So it bypasses the need for human intervention to make it sacred.
Exactly. And there's one more crucial detail, a visual mark. The stone usually has these characteristic markings, like spiral grooves. These are seen as the impression of the Sudarshan chakra. That's the Lord's disc weapon. And that specific, naturally occurring mark is taken as definitive proof. It's Vishnu himself, right there in the stone. It removes all doubt. You don't even need the usual temple ceremonies to install the deity.
Wow. That's powerful, a self-validating presence.
Very much so.
So we have the soul of devotion, the jiva, represented by Tulsi, united with the supreme soul, represented by Shaligram. And this celestial wedding, it's timed very precisely within the cosmic calendar, doesn't just happen anytime. You mentioned it's tied to Lord Vishnu's own schedule?
That's right.
The Viva takes place on or right after Dehothani Ekadashi. Now, we should probably clarify, Ekadashi is the 11th day of the lunar fortnight. It happens twice a month. But this particular Ekadashi marks something really significant.
Huge, yes. It marks the end of Lord Vishnu's 4-month celestial rest period. This is known as Chaturmasya. For 4 whole months, tradition holds that the Lord is essentially resting or sleeping in the celestial realm. And during that time, generally, no major auspicious functions like human weddings are supposed to take place. It's a quiet period.
Ah, okay.
So his awakening on Devathani Ekadashi signals the return of all auspiciousness, and it officially kicks off the entire wedding season for everyone else, starting appropriately with the Lord's own marriage first. Then the human weddings can follow.
A divine opening ceremony for the wedding season.
You could say that. And if you ever attend a Tulsi Shaligram Vivah, especially in an ISK Khan temple, it's anything but dry or purely symbolic. It's a full-on sensory experience. It demonstrates devotion in its most joyful, vibrant form. The whole temple transforms. It's decorated like a royal wedding hall. Garlands everywhere, bright colors, lights. Often there's a special temporary structure, an ornate bridal pavilion, built just for the ceremony.
And the care they take in dressing the couple, it's described with such affection in the sources, almost like dressing beloved dolls, but with deep reverence. The Tulsi plant, the bride, gets decorated with tiny ornaments, little red sari, bangles, maybe even a bridal veil.
Exactly.
And the Shaligram stone, the groom, is treated like royalty too. Dressed in a miniature dhoti, maybe a tiny turban, placed very carefully on a beautiful altar. It's this act of pure, loving imagination translating into devotion.
It truly is. And what follows that preparation is a complete traditional Vedic wedding ritual, the Viva, performed by priests. And the sources really detail the thoroughness here. It's not abbreviated. They start with Ganesh Puja, invoking auspiciousness, clearing obstacles.
Standard for any auspicious beginning.
Right. Then they move into the core wedding rites, mirroring a human wedding almost perfectly. There's the Kanyadan.
The giving away of the bride. But who gives away Tulsi?
That's a beautiful point. Since Tulsi is considered Vishnu's own eternal consort in this form, often a senior devotee, maybe a temple president or a respected elder, acts as her guardian. They symbolically give her away to the Lord. It's seen as a profound act of service, facilitating this divine union.
That adds another layer of community involvement.
Definitely. And following that, you have the chanting of sacred verses, the Mangalastakam for blessings on the couple. Then you get to the really core physical rites. Panigrahanam, that's where the groom, represented perhaps by the priest or the guardian, symbolically takes the hand of the bride. And then the absolute climax of the ritual, the Saptapadi, the 7 sacred steps. Usually walk symbolically around a sacred fire, just like in a human Vedic wedding. Each step signifies a vow or blessing for their life together.
And all this serious ritual is happening amidst what sounds like a party.
Oh, absolutely. The atmosphere is electric. The whole event is usually accompanied by ecstatic festive curtain, chanting, music, often dancing. It's a full community celebration. Devotees are singing, celebrating. The whole place just vibrates with joy. It's not a somber affair at all.
Not like any good wedding.
It ends with a feast, a massive prasadam feast. Prasadam being, sanctified food offered first to the deities. It's shared among all the honored guests who are the devotees themselves. Sharing that spiritual meal confirms the successful union and shares the blessings.
Okay, so it's a beautiful, detailed, joyful ceremony. But let's circle back to the why. Why should this matter to you, the listener? Here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Because the whole ceremony acts as this living, breathing metaphor for our own spiritual lives, our aspirations. The symbolism seems almost perfect. Tulsi, the pure devotee who faced that setback but was ultimately elevated to the highest form of service. She represents the individual soul, right? The jiva.
Precisely. She embodies the potential of the individual soul.
And Shaligram, the Lord in stone form, represents the supreme soul, Krishna or Vishnu.
Exactly. So the wedding itself symbolizes the ultimate goal of the spiritual path, at least within this bhakti tradition, which is the purification of the conditioned soul that's us in our current state so that it can enter into an eternal, loving relationship with the Supreme Lord. It tells us that the end point of the spiritual journey isn't some dry, impersonal void or just abstract realization. It's an intimate, personal, loving relationship.
But like a marriage.
Like the most perfect marriage, yes. And we can tie this back to those ritual steps you mentioned earlier.
The Saptapadi, the 7 steps.
Yes, the 7 steps. Remember, the marriage is considered complete only once those 7 steps are taken. So, if we are trying to achieve that union with the Supreme, well, it implies we also need to actively walk certain steps.
So in a spiritual context, those 7 steps, they aren't literal steps around a fire for us, but maybe they represent the stages of devotional practice or purification.
That's a very common understanding, yes.
Yeah.
It could be seen as stages of bhakti or specific commitments or vows we take on the path. And when devotees participate in the Tulsi Shaligram Vivah, they're not just watching a historical reenactment. They are actively praying. You're praying to Tulsi Devi, acknowledging her unique position as the Lord's most beloved devotee. They're essentially asking her, Tulsi Devi, please help me. Please intercede on my behalf. Help me purify my own heart so that I, too, can achieve that same kind of eternal bond, that loving service with the Lord, just like you have.
So she acts as a kind of spiritual bridge or an intercessor.
A perfect intermediary, yes, because she has achieved that perfection of love. And, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this whole ceremony makes a powerful statement. It shows that devotion isn't just a passive philosophy. It's dynamic. It's active. It's a loving relationship. It elevates the importance of the individual soul's love for God. It shows that the Lord himself, despite his supreme, all-powerful position, actually yearns for that simple, pure love offered by his devotees, the kind of love that Tulsi Devi perfectly embodies.
So after all this, you, the listener, now hopefully hold the key insights into why this marriage, seemingly just between a plant and a stone, is arguably one of the most spiritually profound weddings you could witness all year. It really is a spectacular blend, isn't it? Dramatic history, essential symbolism, and just this overwhelming celebratory devotion. And it all points to one fundamental truth: the potential for the soul to unite with its ultimate source, with the divine.
And maybe a final thought to consider, building on those 7 steps, the Saptapadi. They complete the marriage. They represent commitment, promise. So if the ultimate goal reflected in the Tulsi Shaligram Vivah is that union of your individual soul with the divine, what are the 7 concrete steps? The 7 acts of purification or commitment that you personally need to walk. What are your 7 steps to move closer to that eternal, loving relationship? That's the personal vow, perhaps, that this celestial wedding invites you to contemplate.
That is a truly profound question to mull over, long after the curtain music might fade. So what does this all mean? I suppose it means the deepest, most essential relationships, even the one between the soul and God, can often come or be represented in the most unexpected and beautiful forms. Thank you for sharing your sources with us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.